Good afternoon, my name is Morgenstern, and I oversee policy and communications for Christian Zionists for Israel. I'm filling in today for Kasim Hafeez because Kasim is in Israel with a group of Special Forces veterans from the U.S. military. I'm going to let Kasim talk to you more about that trip when he gets back, but I think the fact that these veterans traveled with us to Israel is indicative of the shared values that American and Israeli service members and the American and Israeli people share. But today we're going to talk about something different. Today we're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about Iran's allies, and we're going to talk about the axis of anti-Western authoritarian regimes with which the United States, Israel, and the West must contend. As many of you may have seen in the press recently, China brokered a détente between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Now, Saudi Arabia and Iran, as we know, are bitter enemies, but China was able to get them not to bury the hatchet, but perhaps to set it on the table for a moment. Now, why was China able to do that? They were able to do that because throughout the Obama administration and for much of the Biden administration, America's Arab and Israeli allies were ignored about their concerns in the context of Iran. This lack of engagement left a vacuum which China was able to exploit. America must remain engaged in the Middle East if we are to avoid seeing our adversaries engage in that region in such a way as to be harmful to democracy, to freedom, and to those values that I mentioned earlier. It's not just China that's playing in the Middle East, it's Russia as well. You see, the Iranians have been selling the Russians suicide drones with which to attack innocent people in Ukraine. And in turn, the Russians are planning to provide Iran with sophisticated fighter jets. So you now have the Iranians and the Russians have a military relationship. You also have the Iranians and the Chinese with a military relationship, as China has been proliferating conventional arms throughout the Middle East to terrorist organizations via Iran for quite some time. Now you might think that this axis I've discussed, the major powers, Russia and China, are really sit at the nexus of it, but that's not actually true. Iran sits at the nexus of this axis of evil powers. And the reason Iran is able to do that is because of their energy supplies and because of their willingness to do business with anyone, their willingness to provide arms, as I said, to Russia. Iran has also enabled Russia's ability to maintain its foothold in Syria by propping up the Assad regime alongside Hezbollah to ensure that Russia's ally remains in control of Damascus. So what we're seeing is Iran enabling the worst countries in the world and those countries aiding Iran in its very evil quest to destroy Israel and to spread its Islamic revolution throughout the Middle East. At the end of the day, we have to come to terms with a simple idea. The United States must remain engaged in the Middle East and throughout the world. Isolationism is not an option for the world's only superpower. We must also come to terms with the simple fact that there are people in this world who wish to destroy not just our way of life, but the fundamental underpinnings, the moral foundations that make up the United States, Israel, and our Western allies. We must contend with these people by ensuring that we speak the language that they understand. I'm not talking about invading Iran tomorrow or anything of that nature, but we must show our allies and our adversaries that we as a country are willing to stand up for the values that we hold dear. In the context of Iran, that means ensuring that they understand that there's a credible U.S. military threat, not just concerning their nuclear program, which has continued on overdrive since President Biden took office, but in terms of their other efforts to spread terror and death throughout the world. That means supporting terror. That means providing arms to Russia. That means all of the things Iran is doing to try to spread its Islamic revolution throughout the region. Israel is America's closest ally in the Middle East and our closest ally and most important ally, arguably, in the world. Russia, Iran, China, they're working together to harm Israel, to harm innocents in Ukraine, to harm the West. Not because they have shared values, but because they have chosen shared enemies. We must understand and acknowledge the threat posed by the modern-day axis of evil in Iran, Russia, and China. We must not compartmentalize these issues, but rather view them holistically, and that requires a robust and strong foreign policy. We're beginning to see a little bit of that from Washington, and that we have seen U.S. forces train alongside their Israeli counterparts recently in both Israel and the United States. But we need to see more. We need to see robust action. We need to see support, concrete support for those protesters risking their lives in Iran right now to try to overthrow that regime. And we need to articulate in no uncertain terms that our policy in the Middle East when it comes to Iran is simple. Change the very nature of the regime, or the regime itself must change. And that change will come from within. as long as we provide the support, economic and diplomatic, to our allies in the region and the moral support that America can provide to those protesters in Iran. That's all for this week. Next week, Kasim Hafeez will be back. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to cufi.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.